I'll let you know when I'm about to go live. All right, let's see. Oh, there we go. Not live yet, sorry. I think on YouTube we're live. Oh, never mind. On LinkedIn, we are now live. I think. Let me make sure. Hello, everyone who's watching. I think we might be live already. Thank you, Bryce, for joining me today.
Hey, thank you for having me on, Jason.
All right, give me a second. So, yeah, I think yeah, we're live. So let me turn this off. Sorry, I gotta stop this. There you go. I was hearing myself twice. But thank you guys for joining. Hopefully, you guys are in the chat saying what's up. And thank you again, Bryce, for joining me today. Today, we're gonna be talking about breaking into iOS and a few other things. Um, so I'll first want to start off with Bryce. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into iOS development?
Yeah, of course. I've had quite a journey into iOS. I first started Xcode in 2017, and I was, learned UI kit at the time, but I built a few projects throughout college, which went okay, but never got anything quite to the App Store like I did after graduation. And then, kind of next journey in my iOS development path is I built an Apple Watch app called Stamina Bar. I did the research and development, drew the idea on a whiteboard, and eventually built an MVP, put it to the App Store, let people kind of give feedback. And then for about the past year, just over a year, I've been iterating it. And during the time I was building Stamina Bar, I was looking for my first iOS development job. And in May 2023, I started at Insurance Leaders Marsh McLennan Agency as an iOS developer. And in that role, I'm a part of a software team called Engaged. So we're big company, but we work as a software team of about 30 people, some developers and client services, but we work as a software team in a large company.
Yeah. Oh. And how did you go from that process of like, so you built an app, right? Or maybe even a few, and you started going down the path of like the job search and trying to land a job. How did that process happen?
Yeah, so like I said, I started iOS really just learning about it in
Mhm.
2017, and I was
Mhm.
always passionate about it, but never, maybe a bit imposter syndrome, maybe just not applying. But I realized like about one or two jobs in my career that, I really, when it comes down to it, I really love iOS development. So I thought, okay, I know I want to go for an iOS development job. And to do that, I had to just build a project. I started Stamina Bar from a literal blank project because I wanted to see, like, I knew a bit about Swift already. And to get the job, I knew that I had to build a good project. So I'm telling you, I started with a blank
Yeah.
project, didn't know what I could build with it, but I stuck with it every day, just kind of building something. And then eventually I got to a point where, okay, I have an idea of what I want to build now. So let's run with that. And yeah, there was a couple of projects that when you're building your own project, you may see something on GitHub of a project that you kind of pull in
Mm.
and learn from. So that's kind of other projects I got myself involved in. But really it was just about building one app, and really
Mhm.
doing the whole software development lifecycle was really the theme behind that. Not just building one app, because you could do that for multiple apps, but my approach was to do the full software development
Mm.
lifecycle on one app, and that did it.
Dang. Yeah. All right. So once you had the app built, how did you find the how was the job search for you?
Hmm.
Was it easy? Did
Uh,
did you did you have like people cover
yeah.
for you?
I I reflect back, and I realize how ruthless I was in the job search, and it's the same way, the same like ruthlessness and passion that you have to have for building your portfolio and making sure that your LinkedIn and everything is polished. Um, Again, I was at a startup, which was a really great experience, but as things happen with startups, you can be there one day and the next day you're not. So I found myself in that situation, and I was at a point where like I didn't have to have a job the next day, but it was important for me to, as pretty much as quickly as possible, get another job. So I think having that fire helped me to like, okay, I really need to day in. I need to spend, I mean, hours. Like I was spending hours making sure that my resume was best written as can be. Throw it in the chat GPT as my bullet points, conveying
Yeah.
the right information. And then you have to balance updating your resume with working on your project. You got to make sure that
Mhm.
you're posting, what's new about it on LinkedIn, Twitter, and making sure like GitHub, any if they want to see it, that's polished. So that's two parts of it. So you've got your resume writing, your portfolio projects, and then on top of that, you have to apply.
Yeah.
And I think that is it was hard because there's in its seasons there's lots of jobs, and then in its seasons there's not as many.
Mhm.
But I think I was at a point where there were uh, quite a lot of jobs, and you have to like looking back, you can really pick and choose what's best for you, but I think you have to be quick when job opportunities come, like making sure your alerts are on, and
Mhm.
then when the opportunity comes, making sure you have the best resume you have forward to send as early as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. From what I've seen, like being at the right place at the right time and also being prepared, like having your resume and like the technical skills, that's like that's like the bread and butter that will land you like an iOS job for sure. Like
Hmm. Yeah, and it took multiple tries. There were some interviews I went into that went good and eventually kind of broke through, but I think and it's something that I had people in my close circle telling me is that when the right one comes, it'll just happen, and
yeah.
it'll kind of come quick. And that um, was the situation with my job. I was prepared for the interview, and everything seemed to align what I
Mhm.
wanted in the company and what they were looking for. So I do think when you're prepared and making sure that your portfolio, your technical skills are there, and then another part is making sure your LinkedIn is best suited for a recruiter to find you. And once you're able to unlock and connect all those, and then the right opportunity comes, I think it's pretty
Yeah.
natural.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Hmm.
Dang. So what advice would you have for any devs who are out there right now trying to break in to iOS?
Hmm. Similar to how I was saying, is it's impressive to see someone go through the full software development lifecycle on an app, and I think that's important because it shows really all the skills you need as a developer. Like you're able
Mhm.
to, even if it's an app that's already built, you can totally take a clone of an app, add a couple features, release it, or even some of those apps don't even have to necessarily be released. Those can be your portfolio project apps,
Mhm.
but showing that you can take requirements, because that's how it is in the real world. You're working with a company, or like in the, I guess we'll call it the real world, but in a
Yeah.
job, you're not, you're kind of just the developer. Like you have a support system of getting, these are the client services team, these are your product, all kind of mixing in the requirements. But I think to get, so yeah, I'm trying to say, you got to follow the
Mhm.
full software development. That
Mhm.
sometimes means taking an app from your passion, just taking an app from scratch and building an MVP. Doesn't have to have all the features you want, but build something that is really, I'd say it's good enough to get on the app store, and then work on showing people, getting that to your friends, family,
Mhm.
people that you just may meet out and about. See what they think about the app, because um, what's really important in executing and releasing an app and seeing other people use it is that it releases your own biases of how you think your software should
Yeah.
work. And when you're able to have other people use it, get their feedback, incorporate what's right and what's realistic. You don't have to obviously put every feature that people ask, because sometimes it's not realistic. But going through that process of building something, and then it's really follow agile methodologies. It's you build something, you release working software, take the changes, and then you can build on that literally for forever. That's maintainable, and that's so impressive when you can do that once really good, or kind of do that multiple times. And maybe not, maybe you don't have like an idea that's just, oh, you think is world breaking, but I do think Stamina Bar has like a lot of impact that it can make, and
Mhm.
even if it doesn't, that's okay. And but learning that you feel like you can do it in other parts, and that's what hiring managers see. That's okay. He can come in on the Marsh McLennan team and kind of revive our app. So that's it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I always kind of viewed it as like it's all like a feedback loop, like your project, your resume, your LinkedIn,
Hmm.
based on how your performance is when you are like applying for jobs. Those are kind of like hints that those need to be improved and worked on.
Totally. Yep.
And then even when you do get the interview, like your performance on the interviews itself is like it kind of lets you know, it's a pointer, right? Because
That's exactly
maybe
right. Yep.
maybe you do bad in the interview, but it doesn't mean that it's over, right? It doesn't mean you'll never be a developer, but it just tells you you
Yep.
have some work to do.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap up the live stream is, what advice would you have for developers for their first day? Let's say they land a role. What's some advice for the first day?
Yeah. That's a great question. Well, I think for more or less, depending where you go, you're going to have all of your onboarding things. And I know that's kind of like in one category, but I'm thinking you may mean in terms of like iOS development specifically. And I can kind of go
Yeah.
into both, but um, you should really get involved. Like first day, if we're talking onboarding stuff, like try to get involved in some clubs. Like at the company I'm at, we have Toastmasters, which is kind of like a public speaking club, and there's also employee resources groups. So um, there's groups for runners and people of different diversity backgrounds, and that's good. Like making sure that you're being social is super important. But as a developer, what you should really do is it's like what I would do, or if I was a hiring manager, and what I'd want from my developer is to try and set meetings with people who you're going to be working with or who knows the code better than you. And even if it's just for the first 2 weeks, like try to meet with them 30 minutes as much as possible. Because if you have that set calendar where you don't have to have the pressure of, okay, I need to go ask questions, it's just, we may talk for 30 minutes, we may talk for 15 minutes, but the time is there. And every day you can pretty much show what you learned in the code, and you can also ask questions. And um, I think that helps the developer coming on to get comfortable with asking questions, because that is a normal thing to do. And when you're good at it, it makes everyone's life easier because you understand the work better, you get it done faster. And then bringing in other people, it's like you love working. Maybe I
Yeah,
say that, but it's nice working with other people. And when other people are helping other people, they, build good interactions. So
yeah,
try to schedule time with people you're going to be working with and ask questions.
yeah. Like you should definitely be asking questions because it'll come back and bite you. Like if you don't understand somebody or not somebody, but something, and you just go along with it, then you might find yourself in a position where you're asked to deliver something you have no idea what you have to do, and now you're gonna look dumb because you have to ask questions that they assumed you knew because you didn't say anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, and one advice I would have is understand that it might be underwhelming or not overwhelming the first couple days because you're gonna have a lot thrown at you. Like you're gonna see probably a huge code base, you, probably the biggest code base you've ever seen. Um,
Yep.
and for example, like for my job, it was kind of funny because I couldn't even like I started on a Monday. I couldn't work until that Wednesday because well, not that I couldn't work, but the laptop that they had for me, I just couldn't access it because like the password for it was being sent in the mail, company policy, and and it got lost or something, and I couldn't access the laptop, so that was a whole fiasco. And even though I couldn't do that, I still had to like onboard and learn things. So just knowing or accepting that it was probably going to be overwhelming definitely helped me a lot.
I agree, and I think that also ties into why, say, asking questions or setting up a meeting where you can ask questions, and it's not like, okay, I need to kind of go. It's like it's just there. That happened to me. I got in first day, and I was like, well, it was good that I kind of found some other projects that were bigger than I've ever seen before, but also advice to developers, just like clone a huge, not a huge project, but clone a project that is just like wow. I think it's important to see that there are um, repos out there that are huge, but in due time, you can clean them up and get familiar with huge code bases. But yeah, that happened to me,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
that's okay though. Yeah.
All right, guys. So now we are gonna be wrapping up the live stream. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I can't see the comments right now because we're doing a different setup, but I appreciate everyone who tuned in. And if you guys want because what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep going, but it's gonna be part of the podcast. So if you guys want access, you could probably wait. I think I might have it out like in 2 weeks or a week. But if you wanted me to send you just the recording of the rest of the stream, you can comment on the LinkedIn event with like some eye emojis, and I'll DM it to you.
Questions because
Yeah.
but
Oh,
the two that are really quick that I could answer
yeah.
is, where did I get my job, like LinkedIn, networking, etc. And the other is, how much time do you learn iOS development? So just to answer those really quick, I got mine off of LinkedIn. There was and I'd actually had to go back and make sure, but I saw the posting on LinkedIn, and then recruiter called me, had a screening interview, and then planned like interviews with hiring manager and team. So that's how I got it. So yeah, through LinkedIn. And then how much time do you learn for iOS development? And it's going to be different for each person, but the important thing is to go through the whole software development lifecycle. That may take 2 to 3 months if you're working at it's like a full job. Like when I was building the MVP of Stamina Bar, it's like sometimes I was really building it from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. for 2 to 3 months. So that's kind of like almost like part-time, full-time job for 3 months straight. And you may have a portfolio project or two that's good enough to get you an iOS developer job. But keep in mind, I also had, started in 2017. So I, was in learning tutorials back then, and then had to come back to it after several years. So um, it's really subjective on how long you should learn it, but I would say it's more objective to go through the software development lifecycle.
Yeah, you'll definitely learn a lot through there. All right. Was that the last question?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, well, we'll wrap it up here with the stream. Because the way the setup is, it's kind of hard to handle comments and questions. But if you guys want the rest of the live stream, just hit me up on the LinkedIn. On the LinkedIn for the event, put like some eye emojis, and I'll send you the playback link. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in.